finished reading Reclaim Your Heart a while back, and honestly, it felt like a really gentle, reassuring hug. Reclaim Your Heart is about freeing your heart from attachments, heartbreak, loss, and instead anchoring your heart to where it truly belongs, with God. It's a reminder that what you lose can lead to spiritual growth. I feel like that in itself is such a tough pill to swallow. And even though it's a really great reminder, I feel like when things are happening, when bad things are happening in your life and you're losing things, it doesn't feel like there's a light at the end of the tunnel. It's just hard to believe when it's actually happening. But in the end, as hard as it is, even though you can break, you can also heal. But one thing that really stayed with me from Reclaim Your Heart is that, you know, in life, sometimes your faith is going to dip here and there. Sometimes it might even dip for a very long time. It's going to be up one moment and down the next. Some days you're going to be really on it. You're going to be doing your dhikr, you're going to be doing your salah, you're going to be doing your fasting, giving to charity, reading Quran. And you might even try to kickstart your faith journey, or maybe get back to practicing your deen. And you might actually just overdo it by going too fast and too much too soon. And then you end up just burn out. Going too fast too soon is just simply not sustainable. And then you find yourself on the opposite spectrum instead, to the point you're just lethargic with your faith and your prayers and your dhikr and reading Quran. The faith is there, like you still believe, but it's almost like background noise, and it's like a faint foundation. Something that's always really made a lot of sense to me is to start small and go slow, but be consistent. And I think that's something a lot of scholars have already said, and it's just far more sustainable. It could even be like starting off with a little ritual where maybe you carve out some time during the day to do some dhikr. Maybe it's like a conscientious effort to bring some joy into people's lives by simply smiling. Before you even go about your day, when you wake up in the morning, you could just outright say to yourself, today I make the intention to please God by smiling at people. Already that you've made the intention to please God, and everything good that you do after is already tied back to the intention to please God. So the intention isn't to please the world, the people, but to please God. Maybe it's even reading an ayah from the Quran. It could be, you know, one a day, a week, or a month, you know, whichever is much more sustainable and consistent for you. And understand your limits, understand what you can do, and don't beat yourself up if you can't do it how others are doing it. If you're not at the same stage as others, that's fine. Or maybe even where you yourself hope to be. I don't think we practice enough self-compassion. Like, we seem to keep forgetting that we are just human beings, and we're not going to get it right. We're imperfect. We're not superhuman. Like, I think sometimes you want to brag and say, yeah, I can do this, I got a plan. You are also just a human being. You can do it, not you will or I always will. Can. And if you do that, it's so much easier to manage expectations instead of feeling like you're just not measuring up at all. But you should still, and this is a reminder for myself as well, that you should still have hope and try to get better, or at least stay consistent. Maybe a good dua that you could ask is asking Al-Fatah to open up your heart to the deen in a sustainable way. Maybe it's just to ask God to open your heart back up to the faith. You could even ask God, if I ever go astray, to be always returned back to the right path. Like, no matter how much you stray, that you'll always come back to the right path. And you can ask God to do that. I do that. Another thing that really stuck with me from the book is that the realization that the 5 pillars of Islam actually teach us how to detach from materialism, the world, and instead attach your heart to Allah. Fasting requires you to detach from bad speech, greed, desire. Zakah requires you to detach from wealth. Hajj requires you to detach from fancy clothes, designer items, even fancy accommodation, basically all the physical manifestations of materialism. Salah requires you to detach from business, the people, the world, and brings you to a conversation between just you and God. And ultimately, the Shahada requires you to attach yourself to Allah. I find that absolutely fascinating. You know, I actually read Reclaim Your Heart a long time back, and I just thought to myself, when it comes to self-help books, whether spiritual or not, I like to give myself time to really think about what it actually meant to me and what the lessons I actually took away. That way I can truly measure the impact that it had, and to be honest, the effectiveness of the book. For me, the main things that I took away from it, actually the main thing in particular, was that your faith is going to dip up and down, and you're only a human being, so of course that's completely natural, but you still try anyway.